Welcome to my Lash With Me, where you can watch me complete a classic lash extension set from start to finish. I'll be talking you through everything from pre-treatment to application to post-treatment, plus I'll be giving you my top tips and guidance as we go along. I'm Lorraine, lash expert and educator at Luxe Beauty House and salon owner at Luxe Lashes London. I'm passionate about mentoring the next generation of lash artists. Whether you're navigating your career path, seeking motivation, or looking for expert insight, you're in the right place. I like to begin every set with a lash bath. The reason for this is because it's not always visible when lashes aren't very clean. So there could be residue from old makeup, SPF, moisturizers, even dead skin. Isn't always easy to see, but you just want to be able to clean that lash line entirely so that you know when you use the adhesive it is going to be able to do its job properly. Aside from that, I had just done a lash removal on my client, which means that any sort of like remaining residue from that lash remover can really cause irritation for her. So a full cleanse is definitely required. This is my client Amelie. She's been with us for about 5 years now and she's pretty consistent in her classic sets. Note the quality of her natural lashes are fantastic. No gaps, no broken lashes. You can't see any damage because we have done a great job of taking care of her lashes, and she's also done a great job of booking her infills and regular maintenance. The lash removal and new set process is something that we always recommend after 3 or 4 infills. This is just so that we can get to remove everything, clean the lash line properly, and then replace the lashes so that they're fresh and they look good and that we can continue to manage the lengths properly. This is something that I always recommend, but when clients don't want to, that's absolutely fine. We still go ahead with doing the infills. Nonetheless, her lashes are in great condition. She usually goes for a doll eye, using lengths 8 to 14. We use a C curl to keep it quite natural, but because she has a little bit of curl to her lashes already, her C curl can actually look a little bit more curlier than the average. This is definitely something to bear in mind when selecting the curl for your client. I'm just removing any excess product with water. Warm water is always advised because cold water can be quite alarming to the client and just not very pleasant at all. I'm going to start to apply the patches now, and there really is various methods in which you can do this. The only thing that I can say is to find the method that works best for you and to adapt it to the client that you have. The thing about Amelie is that she has super long lower lashes. I'm going to apply the patches close, but not too close. I'd rather use my tape to go in a little bit closer, and that will just help to keep the pads in place and also to protect her skin under her eye. There are some serious implications to not putting your patches down properly or your tape. Not having your patches in a good place can really lead to serious levels of discomfort for your client. That means throughout the set, she'll just lose patience. She probably won't be able to rest, which really just makes it an unpleasant experience for both the client and the lash artist. What you can end up with is the redness of the eye. This could be caused by the patches or the tape touching the eye. It can also be caused from fume burn, and that is from the eyes being exposed to the fumes of the adhesive. This is a step that I take very, very seriously because it really does set the tone for the rest of the appointment. My advice is always to place it, check it, lift the lids, ask your client if they're comfortable, and to remind your client to let you know if it isn't comfortable at any stage or if they feel any sort of stinging, because in reality, when you're getting your lashes done, you shouldn't feel anything. If you start to feel something, it means something is wrong. The unfortunate thing is clients don't always feel confident to let you know, so you kind of have to do the check-in for them. We've all at some point in our career experienced issues with the under eye patches and the tape. The more you practice, the better, but again, Do not just place the patches and leave them throughout the appointment. You need to be actively checking on behalf of your client and also just checking in with them periodically. How does your eyes feel? Are they comfortable? Also, to remind them to let you know if anything changes. I have also used tape in order to better access the lash line. This must be done cautiously because lifting it too far will cause exposure to the fumes for the client. Again, another uncomfortable thing that you must be wary of. Before we move on to application, I just want to pause it right there just to have a quick moment to talk about primer and the reason why I have selected not to use it on Amelie. When someone has light brown or blondish hairs, it usually means that their lashes have a higher pH level. Applying a primer could potentially dry out the natural lashes and then have an adverse effect on the bond of the adhesive. Therefore, it's always worth checking if your client's lashes do require primer or not. Okay, so finally moving on to the application of this classic set. And can I just say how beautiful Amelie's natural lashes are. Whenever someone has lashes like this, it's so exciting because a classic set is usually very sufficient just due to the amount of lashes that they have. I like to start on the inner corners, but I almost create a map with the lashes to begin with, so it's almost like my outline to determine where I'll put certain lengths. Because it's a uniform set, it isn't particularly complicated. Mapping is not something I would usually do with a set like this, but if you are a beginner or someone who just wants to be a little bit more precise and brush up on your skills, I do recommend mapping out your set beforehand. I'm applying the lashes simultaneously. I like to do this because it helps me to maintain symmetry throughout. It allows one eye to dry with lashes whilst I'm working on the other and vice versa. That way you end up with less stickies, better symmetry. And do you know what? It's really strange of me, but I've always had this thing in my head. What if a client just needs to get up and go at any point within the appointment? If you've only done one eye, she's going to look pretty crazy. But if you are evenly applying the lashes throughout on both sides, you'll never have a problem. Now, I've never had a client get up and leave throughout their set, so I'm not sure where this rationale comes from, but it is something I always bear in mind. So there are some major key factors that are going to determine just how nice and neat this classic set is going to come out. Making sure that I isolate properly, meaning using my tweezers to separate the rest of the hair so that I can pick one to place a classic lash on. This means avoiding it being affected by other lashes around it. It's not touching. This is usually the reason why people will find their classic sets are quite messy or that they create gaps. This is almost always a result of having stickies. I think also with that, placement really counts, how you position the false lash onto the natural lash, making sure it sits in the right direction. This will add to the neatness and the overall finish. So isolation and placement are really key, particularly with a classic set. When you're using volume lashes, it's a bit of a different ball game. You're kind of working with fans, and whether those fans are open or closed, there is an element that makes it just a little bit more easier than the classic lash. I personally believe that classic lashes are the foundation of lash artistry. If you master classic lashes, you can make any set look good. Hybrid, volume, wispy, a wet look, anything. Another thing for classics is that we try to tackle all of those lashes, bar the ones that are not strong enough. So for example, the baby lashes will avoid those, but the rest of the lashes need to be covered in order to really have consistency. I can almost always tell when somebody has not done full coverage, and it's really sad to say, but it is a factor in the industry that we do have lash artists that try to cut corners, avoiding doing all of the lashes. Perhaps the client couldn't really tell. My thing is integrity. Do all of the lashes, as many as you can, and that way you're also setting your client up for good maximized retention. If you want your client to come back in 2 to 3 weeks and you want your client to be regular, the last thing you want to do is bring retention issues into the mix. They will be way more happier to return if they feel like they're getting their money's worth. A professional lash artist always aims to give their client the very best so that they can enjoy long-lasting lash extensions. We have our responsibility as lash artists, but on the flip side, there is the responsibility of the client to maintain those fantastically polished, neat and perfected classic lashes. However, there are a number of factors that we need to be able to clearly communicate to that client so that they truly understand what they need to do in order to really get the best from their lash extensions. This comes in the form of aftercare advice. Wherever your aftercare is, make sure that that is well received by the client. Now, I don't give out aftercare leaflets. We prefer to do it digitally. You give someone a piece of paper and it's stuffed to the bottom of their bag or it's lost a day later. Being able to access it on their phones is way easier than trying to find that piece of paper that you took from your lash artist earlier. You want to make sure that you have clear evidence that you provided this aftercare, because when there are situations where clients haven't taken care of their lashes, they're still going to attempt to blame their lash artist. I personally believe and tell my team that it is our responsibility to firstly make sure the client's lashes are being done in a way that sets them up for great retention. And then secondly, it is our responsibility to communicate clearly and effectively to that client exactly what they need to do once they leave the salon. It's also really important to take note of what clients are doing. So for example, if they say I'm going on holiday, or if they say they're super active, they like going to the gym, we have to be able to tailor our advice to that client's lifestyle if they've given us that information. The last thing you want to do is to create a beautiful set of lashes and then within a week that client comes back with barely anything. The lashes are dirty, they've got makeup in, you can tell they haven't been washed. It's the worst thing. So just take the time, and I know what it's like. Clients will jump up out of the bed and be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And you're like, hold on, let me just explain. Make sure that you keep that client's attention to give them that information. Then that's it. Your job is done. Be surprised at how many people just don't know what aftercare for lash extensions entail, and that's where you come into play. So as you can see, I'm brushing through Amelie's set, which has made fantastic progress. We've got about 20% remaining, so we'll keep going, but in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for getting this far into the video, and if anything has been helpful at all, please do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with anyone else you think it would help. If you have any comments or questions, drop it in the comment section below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. For any lash artists who are qualified but are currently struggling with any elements of your lash artistry, please do check out my troubleshooting masterclass, where you can book a 3-hour private session with me, receiving detailed feedback and looking at how to correct the issues you're having. You can ask me any questions you want. I will help to give you clarity and to develop the solutions that you need. We know that being a lash artist can sometimes be quite a lonely role when you don't have the colleagues to turn to. Whether you're a beginner lash artist or you're already working in the industry, this masterclass was designed with you in mind. So we are almost done with Amelie's lashes. So don't go anywhere, because I want you to see the finished look for her classic lashes. So right now I'm just applying the last few lashes. As you can see, the set has come along nicely. It's looking dark, it's looking full, it's looking fluffy. It's always so exciting to get to this point, because you just cannot wait to show your client the work that you've done. I'm just fanning Amelie's lashes. I want to reduce any fumes that are trapped in the eye area before she opens her eyes, and then I am applying the super bonder to the base of her lash line, and this is so that we are curing the adhesive immediately. Once that's done, I go back to the fanning and the brushing, and then I want to check that there isn't any lashes to the tape or the patches before I remove them. As you can imagine, this would be terribly uncomfortable for the client, because not only Will it pull on the lash extension? It will pull on the natural lashes. So again, another important step for the comfort of the client. By the way, my method of removing her patches and tape is solely based on the way that I applied it. So there were no bottom lashes that were in between the patches and the tape. Therefore, I can remove the whole thing together. Another thing that I like to do is I want to make sure that the client doesn't have any stickiness going on between the lash extensions and her lower lashes. Even one or two can make it feel to the client that their eyes are glued shut. So to avoid potential panic and also to avoid eyes watering, I like to check first so that I know the client will open their eyes and have no stickiness at all. And now time for the reveal. Here's Amelie's lashes. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know. Drop a comment in the comment box and I'll see you in the next video.